Good afternoon, everybody. We'll begin our work session. Today is February 14th. Happy Valentine's Day to everybody in the audience and in our city. Would you please stand for the pledge? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Now we have Jennifer Martinez to talk to us about Pets of the Week. Hi, Jennifer.
Hi. Happy Valentine's Day.
Happy Valentine's to you, too. I'm in the spirit. I'm wearing my heart sweatshirt.
Everybody looks Valentine's Day festive.
Uh-huh.
Awesome. Except for Christine. Good afternoon, Mayor Pro Tem and Council. I'm Jennifer Martinez with the City's Communications Office, and today I have the pleasure of introducing you to our Pets of the Week, and I will begin with our cat, Quinn. Quinn is a one-year-old domestic short hair who would be the perfect Valentine. She is cute and sweet and loves being pet. She's a little bit curious, and she's very patiently waiting for her forever home. She hopes to be someone's adorable and loving companion. And then we have Indigo. Indigo is a 2-year-old male who had a pretty good idea for a Valentine's Day date, and that would be a walk in the park or a hike in the mountains. He would love to cuddle with his family after all that walking, of course. Indigo is a very handsome boy who is hoping to make someone's life complete. You can meet Quinn or Indigo by calling the Animal Services Center of the Mesilla Valley and asking to make an appointment to see either of these two. And you can remember that the Valentine's Day special, which includes $25 pet adoptions, goes on until February 20th. And you have time this weekend. There's a pet adoption event at PetSmart. That's from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. Saturday, February 19th. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jennifer. So many opportunities to adopt our pets. As you know, and I've said it before, our center is like over full. So please, Jennifer, I'm thinking that Indigo would be a great running partner. How about that? Yes, she said thumbs up, so, okay. Hi, Dr. Payares.
Mayor Pro Tem, how are you?
I'm
Doing
good.
good. Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem.
Bueno.
Members of the City Council, these are the jobs of the week that we have for today. Today we're going to be presenting an office assistant senior. This is with the City of Las Cruces, and it's paying 57 cents an hour, and this position will be closing on the 28th of February. We also have an insurance customer sales, and this is with Holguin Insurance Agency. The salary was not disclosed on this one, and this position will be closed on March the 20th of 2022. We also have a dialysis registered nurse, and this is with the U.S. Renal Care. The salary, again, was not disclosed on this one, but this will be open until, it's going to be closing on March the 8th of 2022. We also have an after-school monitor, and this is with ITS Quest Incorporated, and they're paying $11.50 an hour, and this position will be closing on the 5th of March of 2022. We also have a virtual call center agent, and this is with Healthcare Corporation of America. The salary was not disclosed on this position, but the position will be closing on March the 5th of 2022. Additionally, members of the City Council and Mayor Pro Tem, I wanted to mention that the job fair that we had on the 10th of February was a success. We had 260 job seekers attend this job fair. If you remember from the last one we had 144 job seekers. So we think very, very deeply the partners at New Mexico Workforce Connections who helped us put together the job fair, as well as yourselves for spreading the word about the job fair. So thank you very much. And for a full list of jobs, internships, volunteer opportunities, please visit employeenm.com and governmentjobs.com/careers/Las Cruces. And again, the information for the New Mexico Workforce Connections office is at 226 South Alameda Boulevard, not that far from our downtown, and their phone number is 524-6250. Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, Dr. Payares. Kudos to your staff at Economic Development Department and the Workforce Connection for that very successful work fair. Next up, we have Mr. Enriquez, our COVID-19 update.
Good afternoon, Mayor Pro Tem, Council. Eric Enriquez, Assistant City Manager, for a COVID update. And things are looking better in the community as far as case counts. We've seen a reduction in the spike. That's a reflection on our hospital data as it's gone down for new cases 38.4%. We've also seen a decrease in the admissions and then also in the total use for COVID-19 and ICU beds. So things are looking better. As far as vaccination progress, it's still just a gradual increase. We were at 41% last week. Now we're at 42% of fully vaccinated, and the same goes for fully vaccinated for youth. It's just a slight increase from 41% to 43%, but still continuing to move forward with the vaccinations. The female vaccination bus has departed our area, moving over to west to Silver City area, Grant County. They'll plan to return as vaccinations become available for young children. And FDA has delayed the decision on vaccinations for young children, those of ages 6 months to 5 years. As far as testing goes, we have been distributing free at-home test kits in the area. They can be found at findatestnewmexico.org. It'll give all the lists such as Munson Center, Mearshide, East Mesa, some places in the county like the Community Center in Doña Ana, and places like that if you go to that website. Also testing news at the Field of Dreams. The FEMA testing is going there. It's real slow, but it is taking place. And also some other good news. Emory, a company out of Phoenix, is doing some testing right now on Mesquite Street and Mulberry. And so it's good to see in the community, and it's good to see that people are not giving up and continuing to move forward. Next week, they'll be at Tortugas, at the Guadalupe Catholic Church, set up there to help individuals who maybe can't drive there or still have issues with computers and things of that nature. They can go down to the local area in their neighborhood and get tested. And they plan to do vaccinations as well. Other items I wanted to bring up was, I had mentioned earlier that we would do updates on asylum seekers and asylum or Afghan resettlement. As Dr. Payares has said, the job fair was very successful, and also there was 15 to 20 Afghan refugees that attended. Transit, economic development, helping them out, also giving support to El Calvario and the Peace Lutheran Mission. As far as asylum seekers, there's plenty of room at the Annunciation in El Paso, but we do have the Peace Lutheran doing the hotel stays off Avenida Mesilla in the state of New Mexico, Department of Homeland and Office of Emergency, also providing hotel assistance if needed at this time. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Enriquez. Any questions? Yes, Councilor Flores.
Thank you very much, Mayor Pro Tem, and thank you, Mr. Enriquez. So insofar as the COVID, you say that the counts are going down. What is the percentage, do you know, of in comparison to the peak, or what's trending?
What's trending, I'm not exactly sure, but the numbers have gone down. As far as last week, I think the lowest test count we saw was 76. So as far as the percentage, the only percentage we can see a decrease is what the hospitals are receiving, but the numbers are just lower. 300 was probably the highest number we saw last week as far as positive cases in a day. We were seeing 700, 900, 1,000 during the spike we had like 2-3 weeks ago.
So it's definitely down.
Yes, ma'am.
And the asylum seekers, are they, asylum seekers are generally assigned places to go for their hearings. So are any of them leaving the city or the area down here, or do you know anything about that?
Yes, Mayor Pro Tem and Councilor Flores. There's a couple of projects going on. We have the resettlement, which is the Afghan resettlement, which they are helping them to find jobs and housing and training and locations here in Las Cruces. And El Calvario is helping with that, and so is the Peace Lutheran Church. On the asylum refugees that are coming from Mexico, and most of them coming from Central America, those are the ones that are coming over. And yes, as you said, they have either a hearing date, but it's really assisting them with shelter, medical, and then transportation so that they can travel to their final destination.
And do you know what the numbers are insofar as the ones who have, quote, final destinations as opposed to those who will probably settle here? Or is there any kind of a breakdown in that regard? Do you know?
No, at this time I don't. The number is very small, the ones that are coming from Mexico, because El Paso has enough housing at the Annunciation, and that's where they're being mostly transported. They can see maybe 10 here, maybe 40 on a busy night, but the numbers are real small. But I can get that information for you.
And those who are coming from Mexico, are they crossing the border at Mexico? Are they from Mexico, or are they from other parts of the world?
They're from other parts of the world.
Do we have a breakdown on that?
I can ask and see if they have a breakdown, because I know they were breaking those numbers down, the ones that were being received here.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
I can find that information for you.
Yeah. I think it'd be interesting to see, because I think people are thinking that it's just Mexicans who are crossing and all that. And then they're definitely asylum seekers. They have their destination, their hearing destination papers and all that.
Yes, Councilor Flores.
Great. Thank you so much, Mr. Enriquez. Thank you, Madam.
Thank
Chair.
you.
Madam Chair.
I have Councilor Abeyta and then Councilor Bencomo.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. And for Councilor Flores, we do have a vaccine task force meeting this Wednesday, and we'll make sure to get those updated numbers for you. The DOH and Office of Emergency Management will be able to have those updated outlooks.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you so much, Councilor Abeyta.
Councilor Bencomo.
Thank you. And this isn't super important. I just wanted to clarify a couple things on language, because refugee status is very different than asylum seeker status. And so just when we talk about like Afghan refugees who come here with some sort of document already, who are settling here permanently actually, is very different than an asylum seeker who arrives at the border asking for refuge and does not have status yet, and most of them do not stay here in our community. Just wanted to clarify.
Thank you, Councilor Bencomo. Councilor Flores.
Yeah, point of clarification, asylum seekers do have that is their status. Asylum seekers have a right to be in this country, and then they go on to another destination generally. But the others, the refugees, they're definitely different categories, but they both have a right to be here. So thank you for clarifying that, Councilor Bencomo.
Thank you, Councilor Flores. Yes, thank you, Mr. Enriquez, for your update. Appreciate that. Next up, we have 4.1, El Paso Electric update, and we have Rico Gonzalez and Eric Montgomery. Welcome, you two.
All right. Madam Pro Tem, Rico Gonzalez, good afternoon. Good afternoon, Council. I've got one clarifying question real quick before we start. We brought you all, which is kind of ironic, but I figured if we had one paper copy in your hands of our sustainability report, that it would be there and you could use it with constituents or whatnot. But we have others as well, but I don't know if we need to leave them out for the public or not. So if not, anyways, if we need to, we've got some extra copies, okay?
Thank you, Rico.
Again, Rico Gonzalez with El Paso Electric, and we are very excited to be here today. We've seen a lot of changes in our company over COVID, and right as it was starting, we had an acquisition. We are now no longer traded publicly. We have had a new organization since Mr. Palili started as well, the same exact day that EPO started. Our CEO, Kelly Tomlin, started as well. And so we had 2021 to really examine our company, examine where we are going. And to that end, one of the things that we recognized is that we needed more help in New Mexico with our economic development and with our government affairs to make sure that we're responding quickly. And so we recruited over Eric Montgomery from Avita, and it's just been a godsend to me. He really has a lot of talent, and we're really lucky to have him. And he will be going over the brunt of the presentation. Like I said, we've been making some changes, and our mission statement at El Paso Electric for 2022 is that we will be transforming the energy landscape. And it's not something that we do on our own. It's something that we do together as a community. And you would have to be, stuck in a cave somewhere if you didn't realize the importance of climate change. We've recognized it as a company. We have our own carbon-free goals set by 2045 to be 80% carbon-free as a company. And we also are recognizing the changing nature and relationship that electric energy has in our society. And so to that end, again, Eric will be going over a lot of those details of those plans that we are working on in 2022. But I wanted to go over a couple different things. As you all know, I work the legislative session as well, and there's some bills that are working. So I'm going to intermingle some bills that are going through that I think may be helpful to us as we move forward. One of those bills is House Bill 37, which is creating energy efficiency block grants for low-income communities in our state. And there's $15 million in the budget as of right now for those block grants. Those block grants can be administered by state government, by city government, local government. I should be clear on that. And we're really excited about them. We really think they're going to be a strong opportunity for us to partner with our local governments, with the city of Las Cruces, in some funding as we move forward in block grants, in homes that maybe there's a few houses on this block that we really need to put an envelope on. We can work on those kinds of things. And so, knock on wood, I never like to count anything till Thursday on this week, but we'll be working through those with you all, and MFA also can be a partner. And along those ends, from an energy efficiency perspective, your staff and our staff have been working really close together and have an actual MOU signed on working together on energy efficiency and focusing on our brothers and sisters who are in the most need. And to that end, with the pandemic going, we've been working very closely with many community partners to help and assist in billing and in times that people are having a hard time. Some of those are working with promotoras to get out information as to how someone who is in arrears is able to take care of their bills. We've been working with farm workers. We've given out about 5,000 bottles of hand sanitizer and masks, and then inside of the little bag that they receive is information, again, on how to take care of arrears payments and how to call us if there are any issues. One of the things that we've recognized is that there is a big difference between being in Las Cruces and being in Hatch in terms of communication. And so we've really focused on that piece. We've worked with the county and the state on ensuring that customers that need both rental and utilities are going to the county. If they are in need of utilities, that they're working with the state as well, because the county is managing monies for Doña Ana County, but also state funds can be used that are overall state funds. So both pots we're working with. We've also been working with the city of Las Cruces Public Schools and getting out into the community schools on information on how to work on arrears payments. And and to that end, we also have our own programs. We have a Bright Star program here that we have where we have funds that can match people's payments of arrears, and they don't necessarily have to go through the bureaucratic process of the state funds. We just encourage our customers to come in and talk to us. We just need to make sure that customers are coming in, if they're in arrears, to come in and set up a plan. We are working as much as we possibly can with all customers who come in. And it's gotten easier and better since we've been able to make our walk-in offices available to customers coming in. So that is getting a little bit better there. One other bill that we've been working on that links to both climate and low income is a clean fuel standard. I know you all have approved that bill as something that you're watching. Clean fuel standard creates a credit mechanism for the type of fuel that's used in transportation, with electricity being one that produces positive credits. If you're using diesel or regular petrol, then you need to receive credits, and it's a mechanism that has been successful in California, in Oregon, and in Washington in terms of creating credits for lowering the amount of emissions coming from transportation. As a utility, we recognize that there's very many places where carbon can be or need to be eliminated from our society. And so that's one place where we can work. We worked with the administration to ensure that the revenues that El Paso Electric would be provided, or any IOU to that matter, would be 100% put back into our transportation electrification plan. And inside of the bill, it focuses on rural and low-income areas to get infrastructure out for that kind of stuff. So another item that's out there that we're working on is community solar rules. The community solar rules at the PRC should be completed by April, at least that's what the statute reads. So we don't want to get in trouble with the law, so we got to be done by then. So we're working diligently with a host of entities, all the IOUs, all the co-ops, a lot of contractors who do community solar as well. The city of Las Cruces is very involved in those pieces as well. I think one other thing to talk about is, as our community grows, communication with our customers, with your constituents, is going to be a vital piece. And I think COVID has given us all some new tools in order to talk with people over video and the like, but there's nothing like getting into the community. And I think, and I hope, again, I'm knocking on some pressed wood here, I think, but nonetheless, that we're all able to get out into our community as our system grows and as our AMS system comes out, our smart meters, as our transportation electrification plan comes, that we are able to get into the communities and have more meetings together as a community. I really want to give some kudos to City Manager Palili. Last year, he asked us to work with Delilah and her team at City of Las Cruces Utilities. And it's not very often that you find leaders at his level that are willing to say, you guys work this out and come to me. Usually I find that leaders kind of want to stay in the mix because that's who they are. That's how they, but he really has put together a team that we get to speak with the utilities. And I think it has made a huge difference in terms of our communication with the city. So thank you, City Manager, for that. I really do appreciate it. Like I said, some other community meetings that we have is on our transportation electrification plans. And if I go any further, then I'm going to be taking away Eric's wind from his sails, and he's going to be left adrift sitting up here. So we're really excited to have him as one of our team members. And to that end, I will turn it over to Eric Montgomery, unless there's any questions for me.
Councillor Flores.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And thank you, Rico, Mr. Gonzalez, so much for your presentation. As far as the walk-in offices that have been made available recently, is it due to COVID, or is it a practice that El Paso Electric will maintain?
Madam Pro Tem and Councilor Flores, it definitely was, the closing of them was COVID related, and having them open is the practice of,
I see.
Yeah, yes.
And
so, go ahead, sorry.
No, I'm sorry, I interrupted you.
Yeah, so we Madam Pro Tem, we closed them during the high pieces of the pandemic, and then reopened them, and so that's what I was referring to.
Oh, I see. So I just became very educated about the fact that I was very ignorant about the fact that you had offices, walk-in offices that had to be closed. So how many walk-in offices do you have here in the city of Las Cruces?
We have our one down here on Water Street, which has ability to see 7 customers at one time. We have walk-in in Anthony as well. And then I'm going to show my ignorance here. I don't know exactly how it works, but I know that we have a relationship with the city up on 70 in terms of payments. And then we also have a kiosk that is kind of a beta kiosk. Our plans are to have more kiosks, like ATM-type kiosks throughout our communities moving forward. But we always did have our drive-in open, which, again, going to carbon, it's not the, but it was great during COVID,
Great. And then, thank you for that, Rico. And as far as the farm workers, what area do you reach out to? Where is the location of the farm workers?
Madam Pro Tem and Councilor Flores, I have always dreamed of having an original idea, and it never has come to pass. So I definitely have to give kudos to, again, Tierra del Sol and their infrastructure. They called us and asked us to be part of it when we called them to ask them if they could help us get the word out for customers in arrears that there was COVID money for the payment of those bills that were in arrears, and they were our partner in it. But as far as I understand, again, they were all the way into Hatch and throughout the valley. I think they have different farmers that they work with. They have a good relationship with different farmers, and that's how they get that out there. But exactly how they do that process is not something I have knowledge on. But I can get that information, and I can bring it to you all, Madam Pro Tem.
That would be great, because you also mentioned that Tierra del Sol has a good relationship with farmers, but the services are being provided for the farm workers, right?
Yeah, again, I'm kind of out of my
No, it's okay.
wheelhouse there, but as to get onto the properties and work with the farm workers, that relationship is one that I think that is a win-win for both entities.
And then, is that what you meant when you said that there was a difference between, in the context of speaking about the services, the services that you're providing for farm workers? You said there was a difference between Hatch and Las Cruces, and that's why I asked exactly what areas you service or have reached out to, not service, but reached out to. And you said there was a difference between Hatch and Las Cruces. In this context, what did you mean?
Well, it's what I meant by that, Mayor Pro Tem and Councilor Gondara, is that I've learned a lot about cultural differences between if you're working in this portion of Doña Ana County or if you're working up in northern Doña Ana County, and I can get into those details later. But yeah, it's been an eye-opening experience for me.
Wow. And I imagine it would be, are you keeping data on that just to find out exactly where, how different communities function, how people respond to services, that sort of stuff? I mean, that kind of behavior, those behaviors would be interesting to perhaps help in other areas of providing services.
Mayor Pro Tem, that's a fascinating question, and you actually helped me remember something that I forgot to mention.
Okay.
We have put together a citizens advisory program with El Paso Electric. We call it the CAP, and we have brought together folks from a lot of different areas of our service territory in New Mexico to talk about that. And one person I'll single out there is John Kutnak at the Department of Health.
Who?
John Kutnak, he's their Director for Public Information at the Department of Health. He's part of our group. Okay. And he and I have had a lot of talks about that kind of data, keeping that kind of data to understand a little bit more our customers moving forward, because what, and I don't mean to put words in his mouth, so I'll own them. Our understanding of electricity as customers and as people, and our understanding of our own health care is very much becoming a piece of data and information. And how do you become able to read that data? And it seems to me, that there are some places with, like the Department of Health, where we have customers that are exactly the same customers, and that we can not necessarily share each other's data, but be able to share information so that those customers can become data literate. And that literacy is something that is going to be important, as you all know, with your own meters that you've put into your utility ahead of us. Knowing how to use that data and how to use that information on water use and gas use and electricity use and is going to be a very important piece moving forward. And it goes to health as well, and how you use that data that you get from your watch when you're sleeping at night, So, and for the public, I pointed at my watch that I wear when I sleep and get my sleeping data. So yes, we're having those conversations, but we're not to a point where I could brag about exactly knowing how that data works for us right now.
Great. Well, thank you so much, Mr. Gonzalez, and I hope that next time you'll be able to brag about it. Thank you so much, seriously. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much.
Any other questions? Seeing none? Oh, I'm sorry, Councilor Bencomo.
Thank you. Thank you, Rico and Eric, for the presentation. I just have one quick question, and I appreciate this report and, of course, the carbon-free goals in here. I'm just curious about the 2030 timeline that the ETA has set forth, right? A standard of 50% by 2030. I'm curious where El Paso Electric is in terms of meeting that particular standard.
Oh, thank you. That's a great question, Mayor Pro Tem and Councilor Bencomo. We are moving forward with RFPs that we have set out in New Mexico. We have an RFP out right now for New Mexico only solar. We plan to meet, and as far as, and I'm couching it for a reason, okay? Our plans in a vacuum are to be exactly right there by 2030. Supply chain issues are a huge hindrance right now for everyone, and we are not any different on that end. But as we move forward, our goal is to be there in 2030 and reaching our ETA goals moving forward. And I think, to that end, the transportation electrification plan, to that end, community solar, all of these are going to play a piece in us getting to that point.
Absolutely. Thanks, Rico. Thanks, Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, Councilor Bencomo. Any other questions? Seeing none? Okay, thank you,
Okay.
Rico. Yes.
Well, Eric has
Eric,
the meat of it. Sorry, Eric, I think I took some of your time.
All right. Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Thank you, City Council. My name is Eric Montgomery, for the record. I'm the Regional Director for Governmental Affairs. I think I got the title right. I am the newbie to the El Paso Electric team, so if I can't answer your question, I'm going to volley it lightly over to my buddy Rico. Thank you for the time and opportunity. We do not want this to be the last time that we come and talk to you over the course of a year. We will come back. This presentation is designed to give you a high-level introduction of some investments and some new opportunities on the horizon that we see as a company that will be advantageous for our customers, for the city of Las Cruces, for our community as a whole. And certainly if there's anything in this presentation that you would like us to talk more about, we'd like to schedule some time with the city manager's office, the mayor's office, to come back and talk, bring our teams, our engineers, and really get down to the science, the whys, the hows, so that we can do a better job, as Rico was discussing, about communicating and relaying the value of everything that we're talking about. So, as Rico had already mentioned, 2021 for El Paso Electric was about transforming the energy landscape. We have several new city councilors with us, so for some of you this may be review, but to give a pulse of who we are as an electric company. We just celebrated 120 years. El Paso Electric started actually as the El Paso Electric Railway Company. And it's a little bit funny because while that was our name, the first year of our birth, we were actually a rail company that was pulled by mules. It wasn't until 1902 that we actually energized those cars and created a system. But by 1925, we realized we needed to be a little bit more, and the term for COVID-19 was we pivoted before it was cool to pivot. And we realized that we had to get more into the power generation and provision of electricity, and that was when we became El Paso Electric Company. Since that time, we've grown quite a bit. We have nearly 445,000 customers that we provide power to on a daily basis over a 10,000 square mile service territory. we are responsible for generating 2.5 gigawatts of power. To give you some understanding and capacity of what gigawatts is or size, if we were to look at the Las Cruces Industrial and Innovation Park, we have a substation out there. I believe that substation has a capacity of about 10 megawatts. So it would take roughly 250 of those to match the power generation capacity that we are responsible for. We have a transmission line, we have over 1,700 miles of transmission lines that extend all the way up close to Spaceport America, out to Artesia, the Arizona state line, and about Van Horn, Texas. It's a massive transmission line territory. Within our service territory, which is roughly the Las Cruces MSA, the El Paso MSAs, we have 8,000 miles of distribution line that we maintain. Of course, we have 1,100 bright smiling faces that greet you or provide power or are there at 2 a.m. when a Valentine's heart balloon has hit a transmission line, taking care and making sure that we have power. As Rico mentioned, our mission this last year in carrying us forward into the years of the future is that we are transforming the energy landscape. Rico used an acronym earlier, Mayor Pro Tem, IOU. It doesn't mean IOU, it means investor-owned utility. El Paso Electric is an investor-owned utility, and we aim to be the premier investor-owned utility in the U.S. And as Rico said, we do that together in partnership with our community. And that is how over the next 100 years we envision we will have growth, innovation, and economic vibrancy. It's through partnership. So we designed a strategic plan with 5 pillars, of which are on your screens, are presented, are part of the PowerPoint for the public. I won't go over those other than to highlight just a few key components. We will be taking a more active role within our community because we recognize in order to grow, we have to help steer what is happening. We will provide empowerment of individuals within our community who have not had that empowerment. We are certainly focused on our low-income partners. We'll talk a little bit more of some of those components of what we're doing to those audiences. We will be a leader, as we have been, in environmental sustainability. We were out of coal 3 years prior to the Energy Transition Act being passed within New Mexico. We will be a leader in environmental sustainability. I'll talk more about some of those investments that have happened recently as well. And we'll leverage new technology to get there. And certainly growth, economic development within the region was the whole reason that I was brought on board. It will be in partnership with entities like Mavita, like the New Mexico Partnership, New Mexico Economic Development, and of course, the City of Las Cruces. But today I want to talk to you about a couple key items. These will be things, again, that we can come back and present on more in detail. If there's something, just put a check mark next to it after the presentation. Say, hey, Eric, that's exactly what we want to hear, or we don't want to hear anything more from you on that topic. The first will be our advanced metering system, which is a component of grid modernization. I'll define both of those here in a bit. Economic development, what are we doing? What are we focusing on? And then our transportation electrification plan. Certainly, these aren't the only topics that we can talk about within a year, but we just wanted to give you, again, a highlight. So, Advanced Metering Systems, AMS. You did hear that acronym, but it stands for Advanced Metering Systems. To talk about AMS, we have to talk about grid modernization and what it is. On a very basic level, grid modernization are all the little intricacies and components, sensors, computers, communication devices that we can put on a grid that will provide us greater data about what is happening with the grid and with the power moving through the grid. Now, the grid has 2 different components in how we examine it. Most customers are not aware or care about what we call the bulk electric system, BES. That's everything that deals with power generation and transmission and delivering that power to substations where we do some special conditioning and make it ready so that it can go to the end user, our homes and our businesses. The other side is where our homes and businesses exist. It's on the distribution side. And so when we talk about grid modernization, there are technologies that we have to deploy on both sides of the grid in order to create efficiencies, to create better data, and we'll talk more about how we use that. So for a while now, El Paso Electric has been making investments on the bulk electric system, on the transmission side, on the power generation side, including just monitoring transient wave systems. I'm going to break this down into a very crude and rudimentary understanding of electricity. Again, I've been with El Paso Electric for 2 months, and we have experts who are going to dive much deeper into this. But we have to be aware of when there are power surges or blips on the system that may occur at the point of power generation or along a transmission line. The reason that we have to watch that is because it can ultimately overload the system. It can fry the electronics, the components, the equipment, and lower the life expectancy. So you all have discussions about streetlights on a regular basis, and you talk about purchasing vehicles and life expectancy of those vehicles, and you capitalize those out over a certain number of years. If things happen to those vehicles or to those streetlights that burn through that life expectancy, you have to replace them faster. So for us, it's the same thing. As if there is too much power on the system, if the wiring or components are getting used up too fast, then we have to monitor and assess and solve why. So we implement new technologies because a lot of times these things happen in milliseconds, just a few milliseconds. If I were to have a baseball in my pocket and throw it at you, the average human brain takes 150 to 300 milliseconds to process that. You have to register what it is that I'm holding, what am I doing, what's the size, what's the speed, what's the direction, how do I respond with my body? Do I dodge, do I catch? And then your brain has to send that signal to respond. So if we were to have a human deal with power surges or things that are a few milliseconds, it would take much too long. We have to implement new technologies that can track all of these things that can happen to the system. And then we have to automate processes so that we can, again, very quickly respond. This all comes back to our goals of safety and reliability for our customers, making sure that we constantly have the lights on. We're also implementing new standards. We've had this on board for a while now. We have UAV trained personnel that can fly UAVs along our transmission lines, but saving both time and energy, and actually helping us to achieve some carbon emission standards, because we don't have to drive a truck along those transmission lines to see, are they producing too much energy or giving off too much energy, or is anything down? Is there an obstruction that could cause a future problem that we have to address? We can now send a UAV to fly a course down those transmission lines or distribution lines to do that assessment. So we've got some great information that we have built on the bulk electric system, but we got to talk about the distribution system. And the distribution system and the amount of data that is coming available because of advancements in technology. And we're talking about simple things that we're talking about every day, like electrification of vehicles. There are now technologies that are coming available to where you can plug your car into your home and actually run power through your home from your car. Why is that important? So we talk a lot about peak load demands and having to be prepared for a couple weeks in June when everybody is consuming a lot of power, when everybody's coming home at the hottest point of the day and turning on those air conditioners at the same time that we have all normal operations still running throughout the day. If we can give consumers a chance to where, or a choice to where they can come home and instead of turning on all of those components, computers, lights, powering the AC, if that could be run off of a car or battery storage that's either located within the neighborhood or within the home, then we're reducing that peak demand that we have to prepare for. And then we can reverse it at the end of the day to where the cars or the batteries that were powering us in the middle of the day can then be charged during off-peak hours. But to do that and to have that intelligence, we have to implement some new technologies that provide two-way feedback, both for us to help community-wide systems like a neighborhood battery storage, or for the consumer to be able to choose how they want to power their home. So we have to make some investments coming up and some of this has already been deployed, and we will talk more about how we are making these investments in technologies, new switches, new capacitors, new regulators, and what all of those are going to do on the distribution side. Phase 2, we'll talk about implementation of those new technologies. Even solar panels on homes need to be tracked for data purposes, especially from an electric utility side. Remember, I talked about we have to monitor capacity of lines. And so if we are having to flood our lines with one direction with power that is required, and then we're expected to also move power from solar panels to the other direction, we have to know how much power is running through these lines. Think of Telshore and Loman, okay, at rush hour, okay? If we aren't able to monitor the traffic that's flowing through there, we could have a huge gridlock of traffic. It's the same thing. We have to be able to see what's happening with electricity during peak times. All of this provides benefits to our customers and to us as a company, and to you as a city. So in order to get to stage 2, we have to make investments in stage 1, but stage 2 is where the data comes from. So as part of stage 2, some of the investments will be advanced meter systems. And again, these are new meters, just are very akin or similar to what the city has deployed with some of its own meters, to where you are providing better data both to your customers and to your utility operators that gives a better picture of what is happening at the end, on the consumer's end, the end user of that utility. In our case, it's electricity. What this does is exactly what I talked about earlier. It provides better information so that people can make choices about how they are consuming electricity in their house. Is it something that they want to do a conversion of a do they want to look at bringing in an electric stove or over a gas stove? They can make some of those assessments as to how that's going to impact, because data is key. Look, we live in a world where you can walk down Main Street and you can access Wi-Fi, but to do that, you have to have power that's coming through. We are consumers of data on a daily basis, and power is kind of that critical key component to get us there. These metering systems that we have partnered on, that we are distributing and working through and working with, have been accepted by 90%. They have 90% of the market across the U.S. as it exists now. So we're not using some old technology or testing out some untried technology with our customer base. These are tried and true investments. And we look forward to talking to you more about that as these start to come online in New Mexico. Economic development. So part of investing in new technology is that it also brings new interest to the area. Part of having a sustainability plan is that we need to have companies that are aligned with our goals as a community. And so behooves us as an electric utility to really become a more active partner in economic development. We've always been active in economic development. We've invested in economic development agencies across the region for many, many years now. That won't stop. We'll continue to make those investments. In fact, one of the big things that we did as part of our merger is established a New Mexico Economic Development Closing Fund. This closing fund has directly benefited the city of Las Cruces in the fact that it was part of the solution that helped companies like Electronic Caregiver, and most recently the announcement of Artico Cold Management, which is the newest tenant to the Las Cruces Innovation and Industrial Park, land in Las Cruces. This investment of $20 million over the next 20 years has helped us to land over 180 new jobs, new economic-based jobs to the area, and specifically $30 million investment to our industrial park. The other investments that have been made are regional rural investments that will definitely benefit the city of Las Cruces when those companies are looking for employment bases to fill. WTEC Energy is right down the road in Chamberino. They, just like Santa Teresa, will be looking for employees from Las Cruces to help them fill those positions. We're very happy, we're very proud of our partners who have been managing this fund. Kudos to the Community Foundation of Southern New Mexico and the Mesilla Valley Economic Development Alliance for their involvement, but also to the city of Las Cruces. Certainly, your investments, your marketing, your team has been a critical component of economic development. For El Paso Electric, we are building upon 3 standard pillars of economic development. I know you've seen this before because I personally have presented on these before, wearing a different hat. And so it's not necessarily new, but it is an addition to the efforts of what we are having. We recognize that, number one, to grow a community, you have to plug holes in the community. And so we need to retain our existing economic base. We'd like to see it grow. Sometimes you can't grow the base, and we don't have a lot in the economic development toolbox when it comes to just simply retaining the base. But El Paso Electric does have some tools that we can bring to the table through our energy efficiency programs, energy audits that we have done, and a partner in some of the biggest expenses when it comes to operating business. And so what we are doing is actually creating a quick one-pager that we will deliver to our partners at the city staff, to Mavita, to other entities, to pass out as they go out and visit with companies and their existing base to talk about programs that El Paso Electric already has and new programs that we will bring online in the future to help them lower their electric costs to create more energy efficient programs and operations within house. The idea being that hopefully we can get to a point where we can grow their business and we're not about to lose their business. It's an important economic development tool because it has typically not been used in such fashion. But again, what that does is it helps illustrate the next piece and that partnership in recruitment. We don't want to reinvent the wheel. We don't want to step on our economic development partners' toes because, look, we're investing in economic development, and that'd be duplication of our own funds. So it makes more sense for us to find and discover where the gaps exist in our investments and how they are already happening, and then market to those avenues that our partners are not able to market to. So we will be working in tandem with Mavita, with the New Mexico Partnership, with the Economic Development Department, both at the state and city level, and have regular conversations about their marketing goals, their attraction goals, and we will help push those forward. We will also help and develop new markets and new opportunities. Because the other thing is, as an electric utility, our mission isn't just economic based. Certainly that focuses what Mavita does and some of the outreach, but we'd love to see all businesses in our region grow and do more. Could that mean that we put more focus into hospitality and partner with Visit Las Cruces, something that I don't think has really been done much from El Paso Electric's stance? And there are other opportunities for us to dive into a broader base of recruitment. And so we want to be a leader. We want to help guide and focus more of the economic development efforts, and you'll see more out of that in the coming months as we start to put more of that formal plan together. Then finally, capacity. So we've always been a partner in organizations that are developing both our ability to grow existing industry, but also to receive industry to our region. There are two components to that. So when we talk to site selectors, the trend has been, over the last, I would say 5 years, if you go back 5 years, site selectors had a lot more patience in their projects, and they'd give us 2 weeks to respond. And so we'd be able to assemble a lot more information. And so that gave us as a company a lot more time to be able to provide information on electric capacities at certain areas of land or specific facilities. We don't have that luxury anymore. Site selectors are asking for a 4-day turnaround so that they can get their companies the information that they need. We have to speed up the process and the information relay. We don't want to be bogged down in that process. So one thing that we did with the city and the contractor that you have for the industrial park is that we provided information parcel by parcel on the electric capacities that exist, and certainly with a broad statement of how we can receive more or put more capacity into those plots of land. We're going to mirror that same approach with commercial brokers within the area. We're going to sit down and we're going to give them upfront marketability on their sales sheets, their flyers of their facilities, and say, this is the existing capacity that exists for this facility. Certainly we can grow it depending on needs, but we don't want to be a slowdown in the process. Typically, the way utilities have worked is the Mavitas, the cities of Las Cruces, the New Mexico partnerships have to ask us for that information. We're going to be more proactive in this process. We're going to give that information up front so that we're not slowing things down. Another aspect is site selectors are getting much more aggressive. We can't just look at what is the existing workforce, what is the existing industry, what is the enrollment at the community college by program, and what is the unemployment rate. They're asking for what is our turnover and our attrition. That information doesn't exist at a local level. And so we want to have more conversations of how we are ready as a community and how we are talking about the workforce of our community. We already sit on a number of workforce boards. We want to help to drive some of those conversations to be more aggressive, because at the end of the day, this is about how we grow the opportunities. Economic development is about the people within our community. It is our neighbors, it is our friends, it is our family. One of the reasons I got into economic development was I want to see my kids stay. And that is a shared conversation I hear all the time, that there just weren't enough jobs available or the type of jobs for our kids. So that's why I do economic development. That is what I want to see happen. And to get there, we have to do it through stronger partnerships. You know, another thing of economic development is a quality of life component, and certainly the city of Las Cruces had foresight in developing a quality of life department and focus as part of its general missions and strategic plans, and a component of quality of life is choice. And El Paso Electric has embarked upon one of those choices that exists now that we're starting to see a general trend for. Case in point, the Ford Motor Company put out their F-150 Lightning pickup truck. It's the first fully electric truck. And they had pre-orders that were out there, and within a very short amount of time, the CEO had to cut off pre-orders because they were subscribed to overcapacity. These are people that had put money down to buy the truck, and they were over capacity. He was quoted as saying, we built our facility to do 70,000 of these trucks, and I believe their subscription was up to upwards of 160,000 trucks that they need to produce. So the general trend within the U.S. public right now is moving toward electric vehicles. We have a lot of discussions with fleets. If you look at what's happening out at the ports of LA and Long Beach, they have electrification plans that are coinciding with their climate change plans and emission standards. And so they're on both the commercial side and certainly on the residential side, electric vehicles are a trend that we should all be prepared for. We would be doing a bad job as an electric utility if we were not preparing for this. So as part of the Public Utility Act that was passed, there are some components of putting together a transportation electrification plan. And so we've gone through a couple iterations of this. City staff has been a very great partner in helping to form some of the advertising and marketing components. What you should be aware of is that the transportation electrification plan is both an investment and an actual implementation of a program. We will be marketing to educate the public about what are electric vehicles. One of the biggest obstacles to electric vehicles is people need to understand that they can get from point A to point B on a proverbial tank. And so part of that is an education of technology into battery storage and use and how those vehicles are getting from point A to point B. Also corridor development and highlighting where these charging stations can be. There's the actual deployment of the vehicles as well. And so we've established a $1.2 million fund in New Mexico that will allow for us to both market and educate the public, as well as provide tax incentives and credits to residents and businesses that are interested in implementing charging stations and making these types of investments. We've actually set up a website for this, and we also have set up tax credit programs for low-income households and residents as well. All of the details of those tax credits and programs are available on the website that you see on this slide. I don't personally have a detail to tell you this tax credit qualifies for this much. That's why I put that up there. But we do have a team that is managing the marketing component, how we are doing the outreach, the partnerships that we have with programs like Casa de Peregrinos and others within the community to help do the outreach specifically to low-income individuals. And we'd be happy to come back and talk more in detail about what is contained within the Transportation Electrification Plan, TEP. So I've talked far too much, but we've given you kind of a high-level components of where we're going, what's on the horizon, at least for the next several months. And I would entertain any questions with my compadre in crime, Rico Gonzalez. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Eric. I apologize for not being here at the beginning. I did have a chance to kind of glance at this earlier, and it looks very impressive. So thank you for your information. And I'll see if any of my colleagues have any questions, and then I have just a couple for you. Councilor Flores, Councilor Bencomo.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And thank you so much, Mr. Montgomery, for your presentation. It sounds as if you're doing, you're being very proactive in recruiting companies that will be electrified, or is that? It sounds like you're doing some of that. Am I correct?
We are having active conversations with companies on a daily basis. Those are both in partnership with the economic development agencies that have brought the opportunities in the community, like Mavita, like the City of Las Cruces. But certainly, we're also doing our own proactive outreach, conversations with networks that I've had over the last decade. We're also talking with other electric utilities that have been in economic development for decades now to talk about what are they doing, how are they positioning, what do they see on the horizon as well. As far as the focus on companies, it's a broad mix. We would love to see some data centers come to the region. Certainly, I know that's been a focus for Las Cruces, or at least discussed in Las Cruces for quite some time. I think we don't have to rewrite economic development. There are already some good plans that are asset-based within the region. Food processing, for example, and certainly Artico is an example of that kind of easy success for our region. So,
And speaking of Artico, how exactly did that come to our city? I'm very happy to hear that. And what kind of a business is it?
So Artico is a cold storage facility or management program. It actually came through an R&E visit with some existing industry in the mid-south part of the county who had some connections and had expressed some want to expand within the region, but needed to understand what it was like to operate within the region, because they could have gone to, I think they were looking, and Davin will have a better conversation on this, but I think they were looking at Arizona as well. And certainly Texas. But, sorry, Davin Lopez of Mavita. I got to get away from doing that. And so the location happened because of the partnership that the City of Las Cruces brought to the table, and some of the deals with the New Mexico Economic Development Department, and then, of course, the closing fund that the Community Foundation now manages. So,
Great, thank you. And so the companies that you see coming to and working in conjunction with the city, with Mavita, et cetera, you're looking at having these companies being electrified, and you do that assessment as well when they're looking at a certain location?
So typically what happens when a company expresses interest in the area, they know their power demand because of the equipment that they have to install or the style of the facility. They have done this in another location. Our role as an electric company is typically to come into the table and say, okay, yes, the distribution lines to that facility or to that parcel of land can handle that type of load. Otherwise, we have to talk about how do we do upgrades to our system to be able to do that. After a company, and certainly alongside the planning, if the company would like that, but typically at the planning stage, they have the expertise to be able to design the floor layout, and they've already invested in energy efficient equipment. But for a company that has existed for a while, that is examining upgrades to its facility, we can do assessments and talk about how they can better access power, whether it's a power conditioning conversation, because their equipment is no longer providing sorry, Rico's giving me the signal. Their equipment is no longer able to handle some of the upgrades that we've done to our electrical system, and so they have to condition the power in a different way before it goes to the equipment.
But are you encouraging companies to become electrified and to get maybe solar powered or whatever? Are you doing that?
Mr. Mayor and City Councilor Flores, that is a very complicated question, as you could see by his answer.
Excuse me, Rico, I just need you to state your name. I know we know who you are, but
I'm Rico Gonzalez with El Paso Electric. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Mayor and City Councilor Flores. But that is where we would like to get. If you look at at any of the policy that's coming from DC, if you look at any of the policy that's coming from Santa Fe, if you look at any of the policy that's coming out of this council, if you look at anything that's coming out of the worldwide scientific science, we've got to get to a point in our society where we're moving to an electrified of everything.
Correct. So are there any incentives that are offered, either federal monies, state monies? I don't know, do we have any local monies? Probably not. But is there, I'm talking about just, I think that I would like to see, I mean, since it seems like you're very proactive in all of this and you're working with Movida and the city and our economic development department and all that, but I would just like to know, to see that everything, because it does look like you're being proactive in bringing businesses. I mean, you brought that Artico, and thank you. So I would like to, are you doing any of that, any sort of incentives or accessing your own funds? You know, Paso Electric's pretty big.
So, Mr. Mayor and Councilor Flores, that's what AMS is all about. That's what that increased technology in our system will help us to do. In order to bring in more renewable energy into our territory, to flow the energy out to the rest of the United States, to be part of that larger piece, we do need to have our system become more technologically advanced. And so what we're doing with AMS, I know that at the end of the day, it goes to our customer at home and their air conditioner and how they're using it, but it also goes to our transmission system and how we get that transmission system flowing to bring in that kind of energy. So yes, we would love to, and we are moving that way in technologies. The Biden administration has passed the Bipartisan Infrastructure Act, and we're very active in looking at partnerships there. We've had communication with Los Alamos National Labs. They have a partnership with the universities in the Rio Grande corridor, UTEP, NMSU, UNM, and New Mexico Tech. We're working with them to look at technologies as well. We signed an MOU with Mitsubishi to work on green hydrogen in some of their projects. So we are moving as fast as we can on those pieces. But at the end of the day, we still have today that we're wanting to recruit in companies, and we will help the city do that as much as we can moving forward. But yes, we're moving very actively and very aggressively to be part of this carbon-free world that we're moving towards.
Great, thank you, Mr. Gonzalez. And then you started, Mr. Gonzalez, by saying that EPE is no longer, El Paso Electric is no longer a public trading. So what exactly, you're not on the NYSE or whatever, or how the index, are you, what is it now? It's no longer publicly trading, so what?
So we are owned by a pension fund that they have investors, and those investors invest in us. Essentially, you can't buy our stock on the New York Stock Exchanges is the point I was making.
Okay. So who are those investors, do you know? You say it's a pension fund, and the owners?
Mr. Mayor, Councilor Flores, that's some information. I'd have to get a little bit.
Okay, yeah. Great. Thank you, Mr. Gonzalez, and thank you very much, Mr. Montgomery. Thank you, Madam Chair, or excuse me, Mr. Mayor, Mr. Chair.
No, you're welcome. Councilor Bencomo?
Thanks, Mayor. Excuse me, thanks, Mayor, and thank you, Eric. How long have you been at El Paso Electric now?
A month?
I think about 6 weeks, Mr. Mayor, Councilor.
Well, that was a very impressive presentation, Eric, I just have to say, thank you. I just have one question. The Winter Storm Uri really affected our gas utility and consequently our customers. I'm curious if there was any impact on El Paso Electric and if customers will see any of that.
So there was an impact to El Paso Electric and some of the power generation, but the impact was minimized because we have technology that uses both natural gas, and then we had some stored fuel oil that we were actually able to convert over during the natural gas crisis. So that actually helped us keep costs low and save a lot for our customers. So not quite the impact that was felt certainly by other parts of the country. And I neglected to mention this earlier, and I apologize, but we just broke ground this last week on a new power generation station called Newman 6. And it is designed to replace some 60-year-old technology that is also named Newman out in the same geography. This new engine, which we have from our partnership with Mitsubishi Power, is actually designed to eventually transition away from natural gas into hydrogen. The technology already has that capability. Unfortunately, we as a country just haven't built the infrastructure for transportation and getting the hydrogen in a more regular basis to where we need to be, but we are ready for it. And it will certainly help us achieve some of our renewable energy goals as well. So
Thank you.
we were prepared, and then we are growing technology to do more.
Thank you. I appreciate that, Eric. Thanks, Mayor.
Okay, anybody else? So Eric, thank you again for the presentation. I do have a quick question, and I think you alluded to it earlier about the president's plan, the bipartisan infrastructure law. I believe it's 1.2 trillion. Anyways, and they, excuse me, and they're going to focus a lot on EV chargers, which is interesting. And then I think I saw an article where the president just basically even said that, and I was told this as well. Do you have a general idea of how those work? I understand the concept. You have a stationary and you plug it in, but do you have, and maybe your brochure may have some pictures of it, but obviously we're going to need some technical expertise if we're going to put that together. Is it available there at El Paso Electric that we can call on you or Rico or whomever or somebody within the organization? Because I think one of the ideas that was sent or that I picked up from some of my colleagues when I was at a meeting a few weeks ago was that if you have it basically ready to go and a good plan, the most likely will fund it. And so what I'm envisioning is obviously having as many as we can have here, and the more the better, because if we can get the funding for it, that's great. But do you have an idea of how we can work with someone to help us design these?
Mr. Mayor, that's a great question. I personally, within the company, again, 6 weeks on the job, I don't have the expertise, but we do have groups that do have this expertise.
What about that guy sitting behind you back there?
And we would be happy to pull them in and do a presentation on some of that investment and what needs to happen with that.
I was just messing around, Rico. I told your CEO that your nickname is Rico Suave, so she started kind of laughing at that. But
Mr. Mayor, Rico Gonzalez, El Paso Electric, he has much better hair than I do. Mr. Mayor, I think to the TEP discussion, we are having community meetings right now around our transportation electrification plan. We had meetings last week with DOT in Santa Fe on what they are planning, and they seem to be, at least from my perspective, at the beginning process of this as well. I saw that there's about $35 million over 5 years coming to the state on transportation electrification. It is definitely going to be an all hands on deck way of one, getting those funds from that bipartisan infrastructure plan like you had mentioned, and two, how we work with everyone along the interstates and the state, the U.S. highway systems, the state roads. It's going to be important that we all are working together on that end, and that's one place where we are recognizing that we as an organization need to step up and on a community level to ensure that we're all working towards that. But I hope that answers your question.
Sure. So help me here. Who's the chair of the TSI PRC? Councilor Quran? So would it be possible to extend an invitation to the councilor to join you in some of those meetings? I think it'd be imperative, so we have a kind of a jump on what things should look like. And I think it's fair to say, seeing that Las Cruces is at the intersection of I-10 and I-25, I mean, we're going to be key to both, north traffic, south, and east and west. And I guess I'm just trying to envision it, how they would like to see. Obviously, I would think that they're going to want it off of the freeway, I would think. I don't know, but from a little bit that I saw off the plan, they want to, I think it's every 50 or 60 miles, they want to make sure they have the chargers so that, because in the past, I know Teslas, they would go 200 miles or 240 miles, and so that was just a little bit, if you wanted to go from here to Albuquerque, I mean, that's on a perfect slope. You start climbing the mountain or climbing an overpass or there in Socorro, that drains the power. So, and so I think, of course, then they started putting them in Socorro and such. So do you think that'd be possible to allow the councilor to attend those meetings?
Mr. Mayor, most definitely.
Okay, great. She'll buy lunch for everybody, so that'd be good. That's all I got, so I appreciate that. Does staff have any questions to ask of El Paso Electric? Are you a new staff person? Yeah, okay. Okay, if there's no other questions from staff, then we'll go ahead and go on to the next item. That's the Youth Development and Diversion.
Thank you very much.
All right. We have Mr. Robert Nunez from Parks and Rec, who's going to.
Good afternoon, everyone. Council, city staff. Robert Nunez, Youth Services Administrator. I will speak today in regards to our Youth Development and Diversion Program. I have been with the city for 23 years, and this program has been with Parks and Recreation since 2016. It has been in existence in Las Cruces. I was just recently speaking with Mr. Rory Rank, who was one of the original individuals to start the program. He believed it's been 15 years since it's been here within Las Cruces, and we've been providing these services for the youth of Las Cruces. It is a grant agreement. Our juvenile citation program is a grant agreement, and we as a city are the fiscal agent. It is through the CYFD, State of New Mexico Department, and this year we're in year 2 of 4, and the amount that we do receive is $308,799. We are part of the Doña Ana County Juvenile Justice Continuum, which has a wide array of memberships, including Councilor Beta Stuvey, who represents the mayor's office, as well as 3rd Judicial Court, law enforcement, both local and county, Las Cruces Public Schools, Gadsden Independent School District, the City of Anthony law enforcement, as well as Santa Teresa, and very FYI, get it right, I was going to say FYI Inc., but it's Families and Youth Innovations Plus staff that are also involved. And of course, with that, FYI is our subcontractor that also offers assessments, case management, as well as follow-ups with various youth within Las Cruces. The Juvenile Citation Program, as mentioned, is operated by the City of Las Cruces. We have a supervisor as well as 2 intake specialists. We have 6 community educators, and as recent as 2016, we were a best practice program through the Office of Juvenile Justice and Delinquency Prevention. We will be revisiting that department in regards to being reviewed once again to again gain that status for this program. It includes choices classes, social life skills, parenting support, and community service. And we do have 3 levels of service, level 1s, 2, and 3. And with that, level 1s are mostly truancy and runaways. And then as 2 and 3, it increases to battery and other class 3 citations that we receive through the Juvenile Probation Office here in Las Cruces. As mentioned, the JARC, El Puente, is a supplements with assessments and case management to include follow-ups for our youth in Las Cruces, as well as Doña Ana County. So we are as far north as Hatch, I was going to say Hatch, America, but Hatch, New Mexico, as well as far south as Santa Teresa, to include Chaparral, and all the way coming up through the valley. This picture here is our facility. It is on 890 North Tornillo. I believe some of you all have joined us and visited our facility, and I'll certainly send an invitation to all new counselors as well as the existing council members, mayor, to come join us at our facility here on Tornillo Road. We are right next door to the A. Fielder Memorial Safe Haven weed and seed program. So a little diversion here and development for our 12 to 17-year-olds, and right next door we have our kinder through 5th grade prevention programs with our Safe Haven and weed and seed program. The Juvenile Citation Program consists of an initial intake assessment and processing. We receive those formal referrals through JPO. The intake specialist will review that, bring in the parents and the child, and they will go over their citation with them, and then best fit them with what classes they will be taking over a period of time. Level 1 is a 1-month duration, 2 classes, as well as community service. Our level 2 is a six-week program, which includes classes, community service, and a parent youth component. And then our level 3 is a 3-month program, which includes all of that, just as a longer duration and additional community service hours that they're required to complete. Staff, community educators, as well as intakes, as well as the supervisor, do case management, communicate with the family, in turn also speak with JPO regarding any situations that may arise. Our supervisor is also our continuum coordinator and works closely with our subcontractor, the JARC and El Puente, in regards to their case management and their follow-ups with the clients that they receive, which now, as of recently, speaking with their one of their management, is they are seeing a lot more informal referrals with families looking for specific services, and also public schools, counselors and administrators looking for them prior to them being cited, to receive some type of service or seeing how they can help out. So we're going to be talking further with FYI in regards to some of those programs that they have to offer. We also have within the Juvenile Citation Program a mentoring life skills sessions, as also to include tracking and monitoring. Level 1, we will track and monitor our youth for 3 months after they finish the classes in community service, 6 months for our level 2, and a complete year for our level 3 participants. And then at that point, after they fulfill all that, they will be completing the program. And it's during pre-adjudication, so we will provide that information to JPO, and at that time they will close their case prior to moving forward with it. What you see here is a table of These are successful, I'm sorry, they are not successful completions. These are our intakes and assessments over a 5-year period. As you can see, when COVID did hit, we had to kind of put in our thinking caps and look outside the box, in which staff did an amazing job of providing services virtually. Everything as of March 2020 turned virtual for us, and then for FY21 we did return to in-person classes, but just recently with CYFD's approval and JPO's recommendation was to provide additional virtual classes for our participants, mostly in the South. What we were running into is the transportation. So currently we are staffed at about 50%. And so previously, as of FY18, we were able to take our program down south, and we were in Anthony Community Center with the assistance of Doña Ana County, and provided all of our services to youth and families down south. With our reduction of staff, we have been unable to go down south, so we're requiring them to come north to Las Cruces to receive the classes on Saturdays. But with COVID and with the pandemic and everything that is happening, we weren't seeing the participation that we expected, and we didn't want to disqualify families. And so we worked with JPO and CYFD, and we'll be starting back up at the end of this month our virtual component for our families in the South, and then those locally will be receiving it in person and have that opportunity to receive it also virtually. So we'll have our camera set up, our staff providing the class for those locally, and then we'll have it set up so that the Southern families would be able to see that virtually for them and be able to complete the program as if they were here physically. So that's something that's really positive with the approval of CYFD, with our staff looking outside that box, and JPO also realizing that them seeing some of the referrals that they were sending to us and the inability for them to be here locally. So that was something that we were able to do just recently. So as you can see, we had 296 in FY17, and just in FY21, we're at 207. We certainly dropped in FY20 to 182 as a whole. But still a decent number, but I think with the state of New Mexico, JPO going virtual, everything was not face-to-face, and so they were unable to reach some of those families to be able to get them either within our programs or to get it completed as we move forward. And as of December of 21, we were at 114 intakes and assessments, so formal referrals we're receiving from JPO. We just recently, speaking with the supervisor, just this last month, we saw an abundance of referrals from the South, from the, I was going to say public schools, apologies, Gadsden Independent School District, as well as through the Sheriff's Office just recently. So the 114 as of December, our spending currently is about 46%. So we anticipate with these additional referrals, and as we move into warmer months, that we'll be seeing more referrals and be able to expend all funds that we have available for FY22. Successful completions from FY17 through FY21. We are at about a 92% over those 5 years, a 92% success rate. Recidivism as well as disqualifications. If a youth receives another citation while they are within our programs, they are disqualified. At times, JPO will work with the families and communicate with us on whether or not we would be able to offer them the next level of a program to be able to continue and be successful to complete the program that we provide them. As you see, we have 3 levels that we give our youth 3 chances to go through. as pre-adjudicated youth. So we certainly try to best fit them within our levels, but it also is in consideration as to what the offense is that the youth are receiving their citation for. And then this here, again, we are local as well as county, and this is a breakdown of the number of youth that we received over the last 5 years, and as a recent this fiscal year that we are seeing enter our programs locally has been majority. FY18, we did have an abundance of county youth, and then it kind of veered back to more local as throughout the next 3 fiscal years. And we are seeing actually more county youth this fiscal year than local. And so, as you can see here, this is our entryway to our facility. This is a youth project that our participants did in FY, I think it was 2018. They did the garden. And we had that part of their community service. So not only are we out there picking up trash, and we're utilizing our Keep Las Cruces Beautiful programs, our cleanup to team up to cleanup programs, but we also do graffiti abatement. We rehab some of our murals that are throughout the city, and offer this component as well as our classes, which are Girls Circle, Boys Council. We do life skills, decision-making programs regarding drugs, alcohol, tobacco, relationships, bullying, leadership, body image. We also have as guest speakers, and we would certainly like to invite our city council to come and present to our youth. And we did that in the past, and then of course the pandemic hit. As we're moving back into our in-person programming, we would be able to host council members to speak with our youth and also hear from our youth of what they are seeing out there in the community. And so it's been very positive in the past. So we hope to reach out to you possibly later this spring before summertime to invite you all to sit on a panel. We also do professional. Walmart has come in and speak to us, their loss prevention department. We've had public schools come in, higher education, trade schools, various other components that would, we believe, would benefit our youth in finding the path. Some of it is certainly being bored and things happen, and then we have other youth that's a path that they've chosen, and so we need to certainly try to provide them as many opportunities and choices and understand and educate them of the choices that they're making and try to redirect them. Also, here's some photos of some of the community programs that we go out to, our litter pickups, graffiti abatement, some of the other murals that we've touched on throughout the community. We really believe in certainly the diversion of the program, but in developing better choices for our youth and really helping them understand what is available out there. And just recently, we started our Teen Connection approximately 2 years ago, and what we're doing, and it was a great idea from staff, our educators, is getting our youth to go, our development diversion, JCP youth, to go and visit our Teen Connection facility to help them see what is being offered. What is being offered for middle school and high schoolers, the ability for transportation from getting them from the school to this location, the tutoring component, the partnerships that we have, Friends of the Oregon Mountains, NMSU, Doniana Community College, Las Cruces Public Schools, everybody that's involved with already our teens and how this may help them make other decisions instead of some of the choices that they have currently made. So we're doing that as well as providing mentorship, but also giving them an opportunity to be mentors for our 4th and 5th graders that are next door at our A. Fielder Memorial Safe Haven, and them interacting with one another and being able to be around some of the youth and maybe explaining to them why they're doing what they're doing, but also to just get a chance for them to interact after they complete their educational component and all the requirements that we have for our programs. We do some great things within this program, within our out-of-school time programs. Just recently speaking with Mateo Ortega through FYI was, his biggest thing that, they just started the La Vida project, but is how do we create more of those prevention programs? Yes, diversion is certainly important, but how do we reach them at an early age? I know within our Parks and Recs department, our out-of-school time programs that we have 7 school sites for our youngers, our A. Fielder Memorial Safe Haven Weed and Seed program, our Teen Connection program. We partner with community schools throughout the city and trying to find more and more ways that we can make an impact, not only to those that have been cited or almost cited, but also those youth that need us in their lives for a safe environment, for a positive environment. And just one aspect of it is for a meal. We run into that every single day, and it's great that we've been able to partner up with FYI for years and years. Prior to that, the city was running the summer food program and other programs that assisted. But we partnered up now since the pandemic with FYI, and they've been a blessing not only to our youth in our programs, youth in other programs, but also to our community as a whole, and to make sure that meals are being sent out to those families, to those homes, so those youth, most certainly those youth, but to also those in need are receiving those meals. And it's something that's very positive, and I think putting food in a child's stomach at 4 or 5 o'clock, even right after school, helps them refocus a little bit. And sometimes I think that's what all of our youth need, is just to refocus, take a step back. Sometimes they don't have that opportunity when they're with their peers or with others in situations. And this program certainly sheds a light of the choices that we make are also have consequences. There's awards also, benefits to it, but there's also consequences to what we decide to do whenever we leave school at 3 o'clock or over the weekends or whenever we're not in school. So those are big things that we are doing currently in our Develop and Diversion program. And within Juvenile Citation program, one thing that we are doing with our Juvenile Citation program is trying to rebrand it to the Development and Diversion program. We want families to understand that you don't have to have a citation to be able to come to our program and receive these services. And we have been seeing through Las Cruces Police Department, through the Las Cruces Public Schools, informal referrals. When families do realize that their child are making those choices or they're about to, and they need them to receive some of these services. And so that's a benefit I think that we're seeing for our community as a parent, as a community member, that families are realizing that, and they are reaching out to La Vida Project or to our Development and Diversion program to get their youth that assistance, because they know that they need something in their lives to steer them in the right direction. And so we hope that that's one thing that we are doing, and by the end of this fiscal year, we hope to have it rebranded on all of our paperwork with CYFD, and that way we can move forward with not only diverting our youth, but also developing our youth and being a positive program within everything that we have to offer, and as an extension for our organization, that we are involved with our youth. And thank you all very much for everything that you all do, because we see that impact every single day in all of our programs, that youth need adults in their lives and need those mentors And that's what we are looking forward to in years to come as well. And so with that, that was a short presentation with quite a bit of information, but I will certainly try to answer any questions or take in any recommendations that you all may have.
Thanks, Robert. I have Councilor Flores, Councilor Bencomo. Oh, I'm sorry, Mayor Pro Tem? Oh, it's not working?
Because we all, yeah.
Oh, really? Okay, well, then we'll just start down the line then.
Yeah.
Mayor Pro Tem.
No.
Because I heard some clicking, but I don't know what it was. Okay, so Mayor Pro Tem, and then then
Go
Councilor
ahead,
Flores.
Guys,
Mayor Pro
sorry.
Tem. We'll just go
Is that
down the
all right?
road.
I'm happy to yield to my fellow people. Robert, thank you so much. I've heard this presentation, it just gets better and better every year. So thank you so much for all that you all do, you and Sonia and staff there. I want to be clear about the jail diversion program. This program is, you're changing the name, right, a rebranding to the Development and Diversion Program, yes?
Mayor Pro Tem Gandara, yes, ma'am.
Okay. And Robert, what's your budget specifically for that, and where do you get the funding?
Mayor Pro Tem Gandara, so the budget that we do have currently is through the grant that supplements our program through the State of New Mexico CYFD, we have $308,779. And then the general fund, it is a 60-40 match that we do along with our subcontractor. So the subcontractor receives $111,000, and they're responsible for their 40% match. The remaining approximately $166,000 goes to our fee for service, and then we match that with our supervisor, with all of our employees, and then we do have some operating budget as well.
So we pay through the general fund FTEs for your actual FTEs, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So Robert, as you're moving into this rebranding and you're wanting to, you spoke to receiving informal referrals, right, from the public now, maybe PD, from other sources. What is your capacity, and where would you like to be?
Mayor Pro Tem Gandara, great question. That is something that we just recently had a roundtable with our staff talking about this. And again, we're currently about 50% filled with our staff, and we just went through some processes and hope to have everybody on board in the very near future. But that was something that being able to get into community schools, Las Cruces, not Las Cruces, Lynn Middle School, community school with middle schoolers, and being able to go into their detention class, maybe their advisory class that they have, and being able to offer some of those programs. Currently, the way we are staffed, our staff report at 9 in the morning. Our programs for our diversion do not start until 4 o'clock.
Sure.
So that gives us an opportunity with our 6 staff members to be in the public schools and or on the weekends, and offering that Saturday component to not only the county, but also locally, and offer some of that development aspect of it, some of that mentoring for young men and young women. So I think currently the way we were talking is our capacity is set where we would be able to offer some development. But I think as we progress and look to expand, certainly that would also include some of the resources of staffing that we would need to do. Currently within the general fund, we also receive funds for some internships. And so we've had NMSU students come to us interested in providing that either on a paid basis and or on the hours that they're required to complete to fulfill their degree plan. So we've seen that. We currently have 2 with us doing that currently. So that is a big plus for us to have those students involved with our program, and that's just one extra set of staff that we do have.
So how many kids or youth do you provide service to in the citation program currently?
So currently, and then it fluctuates per
Yes,
session.
I understand.
I believe this session recently, so we have our Tuesday through Friday sessions, which are majority locals because it starts at 4:30 and it goes till 6:30. And right now, this session, I believe we just are wrapping up a session. I believe there are 12 youth in the weekday session. And then on the weekend is a 6-hour session, which goes from 8 a.m., I'm sorry, it's a 5-hour session from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. And we had, at the parent youth we had 2 weeks ago, we had 16 youth. And those are majority of our county families, because of course they're not going to be able to get here at 4:30 during the week. And then we have those local families that have difficulty of making that 4:30 during the week. So it's a little combination of those.
Okay.
Recently, just before the pandemic, our numbers were certainly much higher.
Yeah.
But then we also had that component locally where staff were working on Saturdays, as well as going down south, and we're reaching 20 to 25 families during those Saturdays.
So do you have a waiting list, A, and B, do you receive money from the county?
Mayor Pro Tem Gandara, A, waiting list, no ma'am.
Okay.
Usually what we do through JPO when they're formal referrals is Sophia receives those and works with the intake specialist to get those done in a timely manner. Of course, we want them to get that completed in as quickly as possible. And majority of the time, we're able to place them into those sessions as we're starting one every 4 weeks. Of course, we're level 1. Those take place on Fridays. And then B, funding. We do not receive any monetary funds from the county, but we are able to utilize Anthony Community Center free of charge, of course, with an agreement with them on the Saturdays.
Sure. And I understand that that's the CYFD funding source that you're receiving, that is a county, right through the continuum, a county continuum, if you will. I think if we're using city staff, Mr. Peely, I feel like we need to have a conversation with Mr. Macias about funding, because, for me, I think this is a very important, I've always felt it's an important program, diversion, right, for kids, right, who get in trouble, maybe lower level crimes, if you will. Important to do it timely, but I don't think there's just 16 kids or 25 kids. I mean, I think there's a lot more kids that are getting in trouble. Just hearing PD talk about some of these issues that we're seeing are related to our youth. So I think that part is important, but I also think our prevention, we have very few prevention programs out there, and I think this is where you're trying to move into. And I've always have said that we need to fund these programs at the highest level. We need to go for grants. And I'm looking at Amy, I think I see her over there, a blurry, because I'm not wearing my glasses, but I feel in my heart of hearts, prevention is the way to go. Mentoring, ensuring that these kids have an adult mentor. When you hear 140 plus youth still in need of a mentor in our community from Big Brothers Big Sisters, and you mentioned it yourself, the importance of mentoring. So I think we're doing some phenomenal work. I want to make sure that from the general fund that we are giving, that this is a priority. I feel it's dire, and I think we do some excellent work, but I also think there's funding opportunities, a way by which to have a solid conversation with the county to provide funding, because then we're able to service more kids that really need this kind of help. And so with that, I appreciate your answers, and thank you for the work that you all do. Please extend my gratitude to your staff. I think you do excellent work, and you have my support. I was hoping that you'd come with a plan. Yes, Councilor Ganda, I need this, and this, and I know you're having those conversations at a different level, but I feel that we as council need to hear it, and the public needs to hear it as well. So thank you so much. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Councilor Flores?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you so much, Mr. Nunez. I have to, your passion and your commitment is commendable, and I know the conversations we had when I would drop in on quality of life meetings were exhilarating, so thank you so much for that. I see that that there is a lot going on, which is, again, wonderful and commendable. But do we do any tracking? And I think there's probably privacy issues with our youth. Do we have any data that shows the outcomes of children who are in this diversion program? And the other is that I really believe that the earliest intervention is going to be the best form of prevention, and working with Jardín de los Niños, which it really is so focused on preschoolers, and then I believe that there are, or should be, I'm not shame on me, I don't know, but preschool programs, from where children are really being caught before they, go off that cliff. And so is there any data, Mr. Nunez, that we can look at to see what the efficacy is of the diversion program? I mean, I really don't know how the diversion program works insofar as monitoring behaviors. Thank you.
Mayor, Councilor Flores, so with the data that we collect, we keep track of our participants within our program for 1 year at max. After that, I know I've worked with Lieutenant Whittla with Las Cruces Police Department, and there's very limited youth data that is available for the general public. And through JPO, once they complete their requirements within our program, unless they return to JPO, there's, again, limited data that they retain, being that they're juveniles. And so I know what some of the information that we try to keep is, of course, offenses by zip code. We provided that to council a few years back, where the household, where that youth is within the city of Las Cruces, but some of that data is also skewed because that offense might not have taken place near that specific zip code.
So, Mr. Nunez, so we really don't have any outcomes, any stats, any statistics on or data on outcomes, and I in no way want to say that since we don't have that, we shouldn't have this. I think that it's, how do you measure then, since we don't have that, how do you measure the success of a particular youth?
Mayor, Councilor Flores, I think the measurement that we're really looking at is whether they return to our program or not. That's one big aspect of it. And then we certainly have been trying to offer our youth that opportunity to return to us. And some do. Some realize
after they turn 18?
Even prior to that. That they enjoy that camaraderie that they're having with youth in a very positive environment. That's something that we have seen return. And then, of course, as they turn 18. We had others that have come back to us and thank the staff and supervisors for providing that. A measurement that we do have with some of our older youth is what we like to do through peak was looking at that graduation rate. For those that have that opportunity to graduate and they stay within our program.
Graduate from high school?
Graduating from high school, yes, ma'am. And so we were keeping track of that information, and those rates were very high locally. And so that was something very positive on
So, excuse me for interrupting, but otherwise I'll forget. I'm sorry. But so do you keep that information insofar as grants? Because I think that, I'm not privy to this. Amy's the expert, but I would imagine that would be a big factor in acquiring grant money or any kind of a source of funding, insofar as showing that we have those 17-year-olds who have, who are now 18 and have graduated from high school. And that wouldn't be violating any kind of their personal identification.
Mayor, Councilor Flores, I know when we do apply for any type of grant, we are putting that information in the applications.
Okay. So do we have a high rate of high school graduation from the recidivism program?
Mayor, Councilor Flores, yes. The last, I believe it was FY20 data that we had. I want to say that those that were the participants within our program were close to 85% graduation rate. Those that were participating within. And then within that time frame of course, that we were still tracking them.
Oh, and so you do track them post 18, after they turn 18? To an extent?
Mayor, Councilor Flores, no, we do not. We will only track them, as mentioned, for the 3 months, 6 months, or 1 year, or until, if they turn 18 years of age.
And once they turn 18, that's it?
Yes, ma'am.
Do any of them come back after they're 18 just to help mentor the children, or just to, because I would surmise that they have grown close to everybody in the program, because it looks like they're there for a few years. Do they come back?
Mayor, Councilor Flores, a really positive story that we do have is a recent hire went through the program years and years ago. And so we have had, again, as I mentioned, not even 18 years of age, but those older that have come through. I know in speaking with some of the youth, they have older siblings that may have gone through the program, and now we're seeing the younger sibling. So that's where it kind of goes back to, is how do we reach these families to break that cycle?
Right, so that you don't see the younger siblings. Yes, and I guess that's my concern. But thank you so much again, Mr. Nunez, and thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thanks, Councilor. Councilor Coran.
Thank you. I think a number of my questions were already addressed, so thank you for the acknowledgement. But Mr. Nunez, I just really wanted to thank you. I teach at the community college a class that is really kind of how to get your life together and make good personal health choices. And often the students say to me, darn, I wish I had had this at an earlier time in my life. And so I appreciate you sort of thinking about that and really thinking about it on a prevention level, and really sort of helping people figure out their pathway. So please count me in for any kind of support that you all need, or visits, or connections to the community college, because I love to meet those students. So thank you again.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Bencomo.
Thank you. Boy, that class should be taught to all of us for the rest of our lives. Thank you so much, Mr. Nunez. I always really appreciate when you come and for the work that you and your staff do. Arguably, I think you have one of the toughest jobs in the city, and so thank you very much. I was really thankful for Mayor Pro Tem and her questions on budget, because that's literally one of the things I noted. You know, hindsight, I wish I would have asked for you to be present at our budget retreat a couple of weeks ago, especially because youth programming and services is a council priority. So maybe looking at Barbara, maybe for next year, have you present like many others did, right? Animal services, Metro Narcotics. I would have loved to hear from you at our budget retreat. So maybe I'll ask you now, if you had been with us, what would you have asked for to help programming and your department feel more successful?
Mayor, Councilor Bencomo, very challenging job, but a very rewarding job, most certainly.
bet.
I think Parks and Recreation is an amazing department. My entire career has been with this department, and I feel I get paid by just the interaction of those human beings that want some type of service or the service that we're able to provide. I believe budgetarily, looking at our programs, certainly expansion of this program and looking at additional resources, even as our subcontractor that's with us has always shown interest for more money. FYI, any other service provider that may be able to do a component of what we're requesting within our community, I think the more, the better. And that would be very positive. Our out-of-school time programs, that's something that I've always been involved in, even before I was hired with the city. Working as a summer job was those summer programs, and I think we are budgeted well for what we're doing. We're always looking for other opportunities to be, and I always say, four corners of the city. In any corner that isn't being provided any type of service, how can we be there? And so we would certainly need some funding for that. Our summer programs, 23 years ago, we were at 16 school sites and city sites. I won't say last summer, I'm going to say prior to the pandemic, we were at 5 school sites and city facilities. But that's also the dynamics of how it's evolving within the public schools as well. They're doing a lot of construction during the summer. They don't have their students then. Within city facilities, we're expanding other programs. So we're limited to space. I always ask for, certainly we could use money for staffing, but bricks and mortar. Whether we partner with public schools, any nonprofit or for-profit program business that has space for us to be able to house some of our participants. That's a big part of what we're looking for.
Thank you for that answer. I really appreciate it. And my follow-up was going to be around staffing. Are you fully staffed? If not, or even if you are, what would be ideal staffing for you?
Mayor, Councilor Bencomo, we are not fully staffed. This pandemic has really given us a right hook as of probably this program specifically, for the last 7 months, we have not been fully staffed. Thank you, Mr. Peely and council for adjusting our hourly rates for all city employees. And just recently, we were able to hire some additional staff.
I'm so glad.
With our out-of-school time programs, we're not fully staffed. It's kind of a revolving door with college students and retirees. But now that our hourly rate has certainly gone up, we've seen a lot more applications. So that's something that's very positive. So we're not out of it just yet, but I think over the next 6 months, as Rico was knocking on, is that I hope we are going to be fully staffed. Because currently, with the limited staff that we do have, we're still being able to provide those services, sometimes at a limited basis, but we're still either knocking on doors or opening our doors and being able to provide those services for youth as young as kinder all the way up to a 17-year-old.
That's incredible. Thank you for that. And thank you for that feedback. I hope that more departments are providing that feedback to Mr. Peely on the increase, right? The hourly increase, because I love that you said, I get paid and the rewards that I get working for this, but at the end of the day, that doesn't pay the bills, right? Yes, and we want to make sure that we have staff who stay a long time, that there isn't dropout all the time, burnout. I imagine in your department, there's significant burnout. And so whatever, I think I really appreciate hearing that kind of feedback. So perhaps in future presentations, include some of those things, because I think it's really important for us to know. So thank you for that. And I wanted to ask about if you can report on what you're seeing in relation to mental health and the youth that are coming through, and if there's anything we can do to support any mental health specific programming.
Mayor, Councilor Bencomo, I think our youth are in a very difficult situation right now. We have seen an increase with, so usually our runaways and truancy are at our lowest level, and we place them when we provide them that assessment, and we work with our intake specialists and the families, and majority of them in years past have been at that level 1. But just recently, sitting down with staff, is that we are seeing our youth coming in as a level 2, level 3s, and the dynamics of their mental health as they communicate with the group that they're in, with some of the situations that they're going through, the family dynamics that are happening now here over the last. I don't want to just blame the pandemic. I think there's a lot of pieces that play into it for our community here, but this pandemic has certainly caused a lot more situations, and speaking with Mateo from FYI, is that's what they're seeing as well, is more and more families are seeking that assistance and those services. And that's wonderful, because they're realizing, whether for themselves as parents, guardians, or for their children, is that they need some assistance. They're not able to resolve or solve that issue that is happening. So that's something that's, I believe, is good, but I think also on the same end of it is there's a higher rate as well.
Yeah, that's right. Do you have any peer-to-peer programming? I know that, we talked about adult mentorship and how critical that is, and evidence shows that peer-to-peer mentoring is very effective at any age with any type of diversion programming. I'm wondering if you have that, or if you've considered it, and in a way to expanding that prevention and diversion programming.
Mayor, Councilor Bencomo, we did not in the past. Our mentors were our staff, but just recently, again, FYI, with that new La Vida project that they've created there, which I think is an awesome title of a position, is their youth influencers.
Yes.
And
we
that's
met one
something
last week, yes.
That we are connecting with our life skill programs that we offer, is to bring in these youth influencers who a lot have been involved with the system in their prior years. So they also understand. Just recently on our Continuum board, we were able to vote on 2 youth members that are influencers with FYI that we've already invited to our programs to work with our youth. I think it's just that much. Sometimes you see that in youth when their peers, their near peers, are speaking to them of their situations versus a young adult or an older adult. It certainly soaks in much better, and
it does,
and hopefully makes a difference for them.
It really, really does. I feel like often, not that it's not good, right? Like I said, adult mentorship is excellent, but sometimes it could feel patronizing, or like you're getting a lecture. There's nothing like getting that sort of advice and feedback from a peer who's been through it, who's been through the thick of it, is maybe on the other side, right? That I think feels really critical. So if there's ever a request for some sort of peer-to-peer programming where even we're paying young folks, I think I would be very supportive of that. So, and then my last, just 2 more questions. Do you get any federal grants? And I ask because I wonder if there's any barriers to serving undocumented youth.
I may ask Miss Amy Bassford Johnson. I felt all that wisdom walk in when she did come
And I
in,
don't imagine you ask for things like Social Security numbers. There's been some conversation in our housing PRC around barriers to housing because of status, and I'm curious if that exists for you.
Thank you, Mayor, Councilor Bencomo. Amy Johnson, Bassford Grants Manager for the city. I appreciate the opportunity to come up and visit with you about the grants. Previously, there was federal funding that was attached to the money that we received from the state. That, as you know, with COPS money and other money coming out of Department of Justice, did have an ICE component to it. So for a period of time, we were not able to accept that. That component has now been removed by our current administration, and we are able to accept federal funding. The funding for this program flows from the federal government to the state and then comes down to us. So we're hoping that we see some increased funding over the next couple of years, given the current administration and their efforts to try and address some of the issues that are around youth diversion and things like that. I don't know how much of that will actually come down to the local level. Certainly, we can apply for more federal funding now for various aspects of Robert's program that are aside from what is provided by CYFD. I just want to take the opportunity real quick to talk about the CYFD money. It is a program that is fee for service paid, which means that they have a set price for each of the activities that the program does. And the only way for us to increase that funding is to serve more people, which is why Robert and I have been talking for a couple years about the rebranding that he's personally going through right now in order to attract individuals that are not necessarily in that diversion mode, but that are families that are wanting to have at-risk youth, that want them to get into a program that can help them make better life choices. And so if we change the title of it and kind of take away the stigma of you're in the court system or you're in the juvenile detention system, then maybe we would get more folks in. That would help us then apply for more money from the state. We are considered within the state one of the premier programs in the state. Wow. And Robert's team does provide guidance to other programs throughout the state on how to set up the program, how to administer it, how to develop the various aspects of it. So it is a great program, and the more people we get in, then the more money we can apply for. The other thing is that you did ask about the budget. We do have a 60-40 requirement, so 40% has to be provided in match. But Robert's budget is actually more of a 50-50 split. So the city does provide more funding for the program than what we actually get reimbursed, you know. So instead of it being a 60-40, we're actually doing more of a 50-50 split. Wow. I hope that answers all the many questions that have come on funding.
Thank you, Amy.
And we are trying to get funding from the state to make us a designated program as best practices that would be nationally recognized.
That's incredible. Thank you for that. Robert, do you have anything to add to that in terms of just serving undocumented youth and those, if there's any barriers there?
Mayor, Councilor Bencomo, we will service any youth that come our way. And I think JPO on the same end of it, I think they do what they can to make sure that youth receive some type of service, either documented or undocumented.
Love to hear that. Thank you, Robert. And then I am very sorry if I missed this, but the rebrand is for Juvenile Citation Program is changing to Youth Development and Diversion, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, just wanted to make sure. Thank you so much, Robert. And yes, same as Mayor Pro Tem, please pass along our gratitude to your staff.
Will do.
Thanks, Councilor. Councilor Graham?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I add my thanks for everything you've shared with us this afternoon, and also my offer to participate in any way that I can. If you're looking to form a panel or, you know, have someone for a sit down, I would love to do that. Generally speaking, what are the nature of the referrals that are bringing youth into these programs? What kind of situations lead to youth being referred or receiving a citation, or
Mayor,
how did they get to you?
Excuse me, Mayor, Councilor Graham, over the last 2 years, runaway and battery on a household member, we've seen a large increase in those areas. Truancy is another that we've seen. Possession of illegal substance, batteries within the schools, But just recently, we're looking at our data, and those two really popped out here since March of 2020, are runaways and battery of a household member.
Right. Thank you for that. And I appreciate the emphasis on choices and accountability, but of course, I'm also looking at this from the perspective of what situations are we putting our youth in that are leading to their movement into these kind of programs. So I appreciate that. That gives me personally food for thought. My other question, you mentioned some partnerships you have. You said DACC, NMSU. What about other city programs, or particularly youth-focused city programs? Who are you working with, or what's the flow of the youth you're serving with other youth-oriented programs?
Mayor, Councilor Graham, we've also partnered within the city, of course, the museums, the library as well. We've, in years past, through LCPD, they'd come in and give a presentation. Las Cruces Fire Department would as well. So we certainly are never hesitant to partner with anybody within within the city as well. Something that we've also been talking about, and this has actually been going on for a couple years, but is being able to offer some of these youth as they go through this program possible internships in various departments within the city, but also within our community. And that would help them, through employment. The basics, there's those life skills again of how to fill out an application, how to dress for an interview, how to communicate with an employer. So we're looking to try to evolve this program a little bit in regards to those life skills and being able to create that employment opportunity for our youth as well.
Yeah, you read my mind. I was thinking specifically for the older participants, toward those employment thoughts, and also adding to what we're teaching when we're thinking about employment life skills. Employee empowerment and workers' rights. I think at our last session, Councilor Coran mentioned, there was an issue going on with wage theft in Las Cruces that had been reported on lately. And I think that's so vital, not only to teach people how to get a job, but what their rights are when they're a worker, so they're not continually taken advantage of. So I appreciate your forward thinking on those aspects. Those are all the questions I have. Thank you. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Councilor Beta.
Thank you, Mayor. And thank you, Robert, for everything with this presentation and answering all the questions today. I did want to bring up a few of the items that we saw during our last meeting. We did get to visit the La Vida project and talk about the programming that they have there, and it was a very insightful item, and it brought in a few of those questions that we kind of touched base about today, which is that programming is very important, especially as we're looking at the summertime and any of those times where youth is out of school. And I think it's been brought up multiple times today that having strong programs and accessibility for these individuals to get to these programs is helpful for diversion. And so thinking about it and thinking what we can do, I think for the summertime, is making sure that we're communicating out as much as possible about these resources. And even, I'm not sure if we have like a resource guide at all. One of the items I was talking to Brian Kavanaugh after our meeting was that about a guide. And kind of reaching out directly with schools and parents before the summer session is, before summer starts, making sure that we are able to give out those resources beforehand. Most summer programs come with a cost, and that is a barrier to a lot of individuals, especially those that might be having other challenges. And so then youth tend to make their own choices, and sometimes that can be good, and sometimes that can lead to other choices that are not conducive to successful outcomes. And so this would be very good for us, I think, to develop a resource guide. And even if we need to do specific outreach, whether it's with an event, to encourage individuals to come and learn about this program and other programs so they can piece together, I think, programming that works for their family over the summer, and looking at that. And then later on, hopefully for us as a council to look, how do we strengthen those programs so that we have more sites, more accessibility, and perhaps even looking at the ability to have more brick and mortar if that's something that needs to be discussed for GO bonds. You know, I think our teenage group, the 13 to 18, it's a very hard time. There's usually a lot of smaller programs for the younger children, but those teen years, it's very different, and how they want to hang out with people is very different too. And so I think that's a conversation perhaps to dive a little deeper into, and for us to look at what sort of resources we could do in the future for something like that. And you've also made my reporting on this a lot easier for Monday, so thank you. And thank you, Mayor.
All right, thank you, Councilor. Another question, Mayor Pro Tem?
I do. I just want to just to a few of the questions, just because I'm in some groups that have had these conversations. I think we should be very concerned about mental health for our youth. I've had a few conversations with Amy Hamline, counselor and head of programs there for teachers in HR and for kids and mental health. And I think last week or 2 weeks ago, unfortunately, we had a youth commit suicide. I shouldn't say it that way, complete suicide. Complete suicide out at the Mayfield High School, and she's indicating there's just an enormous amount of pressures and stress that our kids have, especially because of COVID. But Mr. Nunez, you mentioned we're all, I think a lot of the entities and nonprofits, you're experiencing shortages, workforce shortages specific to this area. And so I think along those lines, peer-to-peer, you know, our Suicide Prevention Task Force has talked a lot about these peer-to-peer programs and talking to the high schools about how to do that, sort of what steps to take. It's a really difficult thing because they're inundated, and it's one more thing that they have to oversee. And so I think it's an excellent idea to have these sort of peer or youth influencers. I love the young woman that came and spoke, so vulnerable, so courageous about her experiences, and it just sits differently, right, when a youth can do that, and probably a youth to a youth. So I want to say that that's one of my priorities. I think it should be of council, and it sounds like it is. If there's TELSHRE funding or other funding that we can do very specifically to address that and help our community and schools, or our schools develop that programming and have it not be a focus and attention responsibility of the school, but maybe another partnership with a nonprofit, I think that would be a great help. And then lastly, Councilor Abeyta, I'm so glad that you made mention of a resource guide. There's several out there. I just don't think that our parents and our community is aware of the resource guides that are electronic, maybe in a paper form, if you will. If you go into Share New Mexico has a very robust resource guide. The city has done a resource guide, but very limited because it would be very lengthy. The Doña Ana County Resilience Leaders and most agencies have a resource guide that they're looking at. We just need to get the word out that they exist. And especially, and I hear you around the summer programs, like what's available. I know the bulletin was working towards, Mike Cook had a nice little, I felt like a good story about it, and was developing a sort of list related to that. But if the city could help, right, and provide that information to the public on our website, that would probably be a very helpful thing. And then lastly, in terms of brick and mortar, I think that there's places already, buildings that are for lease, like the Kmart and other big buildings that could really afford these sorts of programming that I feel the city should really look into if there is such a large need to provide more services for our kids, for our youth. I hear often that we forget our youth, the program that we have is not sometimes for every youth, and so how do we work on ensuring that we have a variety of programs for our youth and I know you're working on that. There's no easy answer, Robert. I know you've been working on that since I got here, and you're trying every which way to provide a lot of different services, but I think you're limited because of just funding and FTEs and those kinds of things. So it's not a criticism, it's just I think if we sort of look at some of these other available buildings and such, maybe there's opportunity there. So thank you, Mayor.
Mr. Mayor.
Yes, Councilor Bencomo, then Councilor Flores.
Thank you, Mayor. I just had one more thing because Councilor Beta made me think of it, Robert, but I had requested a while ago that one of the public engagement conversations with the Go Bonds be specifically for youth, and I don't know if that's going to happen or not, but I would really encourage you and your staff to plan and organize a way to get the youth through the program to one of those conversations, because I think hearing directly from youth on what kind of Go Bond projects should be on the list is honestly not just, it's critical. It's really important, and so I think it'd be great if you all found a way to organize, and I think they're on our calendar, so check in with staff and hopefully get the participants to one of those.
We will get the word out.
Thank you, Councilor Flores.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and again, thank you, Mr. Nunez. In terms of peer communication, there's nothing like a peer or someone close to your age or someone who can identify. Remember I think it was about 4 years ago when we signed off on the JPA with the Las Cruces Community Schools. I don't know if you were present. It was, a room full of people, the press were here, everything like that. And we had an actor who had been in Breaking Bad. Remember that?
I do.
And he had some kind of a disability, and he was asked to speak at one of our local high schools, and all of the students showed up. I can't remember the high school. It might have been Las Cruces. It may have been.
It was Oñate,
Oregon?
but now Oregon Mountain.
Yeah,
yes.
it was Oregon Mountain, and it was SRO. I mean, it was, and then and the students, the youth were so motivated, and he shared his story, and I agree that anyone who's in college for a high school student sometimes is just too much of a reach, but this particular person, gosh, I can't remember his name, but he was absolutely delightful and just a really down-to-earth person. And one thing we can do now, I believe, is we have our high schools. We have the big, of course, we have COVID, good old COVID, but we still have places. We do have that brick and mortar. And sometimes it just takes that one person you heard that you could identify with that really makes you see that there's life beyond your dismal environment or experiences. And I wonder if we could have motivational speakers, and not a motivational speaker like someone who's like in their 50s or 60s, what? Oh, R.J. Mitty was his name. Because I should have remembered, because I thought of Walter Mitty, The Secret Life, whatever. But maybe something like that, Mr. Nunez or Ms. Delgado or Ms. Whoever, Mr. City Manager who's not here, Assistant City Manager who's still in the back of the room, where we can maybe, because you do work with LCPS, LCCS, and have speakers come out, youth. And he was probably in his late 20s or early 30s, but he has the heart and the soul of a 16 or 17-year-old. And it may have been that Breaking Bad role that he had, but to have people who still relate to youth, or youth relate to them, identify with them, or look up to them, talk about their hard knocks in life, or have a youth who survived suicide speak to them, and we could do something like that. I think that we really have to be. I think all of us up here have said the same thing. We have to really take care of our youth. I mean, that's our future. John Kennedy said that was our most resourceful, that was our biggest resource, our youth. And I think that we could all agree with that, that if we don't care, if we're not taking care of our youth, what are we doing? What are we here for? So that's the only recommendation I can make. And so far as it wouldn't require, I think all we had to pay for RJ to be here was his airfare. And I think his hotel stay. I mean, it wasn't like he asked for, $10,000 so I can be heard. It really came from his heart. And I think that there's maybe a foundation in the country that probably provides that kind of service. I don't know. But I'm just putting it out there in the universe, and maybe it'll fall on somebody's ears. So thank you so much again, Mr. Nunez.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Mm-hmm. Anyone else? Well, I think everyone's covered everything. You have done, really, it is a fantastic job, and it's really needed here in the community, and I appreciate all that you do. And I know that, and I always have to circle back to the county, because they still collect that 1/8 of 1% that comes from all gross receipts tax that's used for health services. That I would think that, if this is something here that we could tap in just a small amount to help with some of the funding, because obviously, like I said, half of it comes from city residents that I know that they utilize it for ambulance service and other nonprofits, but this is one that I think could also be eligible, in my opinion. So, okay, if there's nothing further, I think this pretty much concludes the presentations. So if that's the case, then just entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second by Flores.
Motion made by Councilor Abeyta, second by Councilor Flores. Christine?
This is on the motion to adjourn the work session. Councilor Abeyta?
Yes.
Councilor Graham?
Yes.
Councilor Bencomo?
Yes.
Councilor Coran?
Yes.
Councilor Flores?
Yes.
Councilor Gondeta?
Yes.
Mayor?
Yes. Okay, we're adjourned. It's 3:42 p.m. Oh, yes, thanks. What was the applause for? You ready? Okay, this is the agenda setting meeting for our February 22nd, 2022 City Council meeting. Number 1, non-consent.
1 non-consent.
2, non-consent.
2 non-consent.
3, non-consent.
3 non-consent.
4, non-consent.
4 non-consent.
I'm going to guess 5 is non-consent also, if I can open it. Sorry about about that? 5 non-consent,
5 non-consent,
6 consent,
6 consent,
7 non-consent,
7 non-consent,
8 non-consent,
8 non-consent,
and 9 non-consent.
9 non-consent. Thank you.